This is right in my business, so hopefully the audio won't suck. I haven't figured out how to go live and yet on YouTube, and so I had to verify my phone number. Apparently that takes 24 hours or something. I don't know. So I wanted this to be about religious pluralism different versus perennialism. So I was talking recently with some friends in this Voxer group, and we were talking about. I don't even know how it began. Oh, this is how it began. I think is because my friend Sam and was we had a little interaction between Sam, my friend Nate, and a few other people around this Paul Kingsnorth video, which was his interview on Rebel Wisdom about his conversion to Christianity, essentially, and there was a little Q&A at the end after the interview, and I thought it was awesome. I really resonated with all of it, and Sam had just written some comments on the Discord about essentially how I just want to read him because I don't want to misquote him, but about essentially how he thought Paul Kingsnorth changed his tone a little bit toward the end of the conversation and became a little, I don't know, kind of coexist, fuzzy, pluralistic, where, hey, this is just what I believe, you can believe whatever you want, that sort of thing. And I really feel like there is at least to me, and I don't know how much this is rooted in the technical definition and history of the words, but to me, I felt like there was a difference between pluralism and perennialism, because I would classify myself as a perennialist, a Christian perennialist, but I don't think that's a pluralist, which is kind of like I don't know, weak-wristed kumbaya, uh, you know, it's fine, man. Whatever you do your thing, I'll do my thing. That sort of a thing. It, and what I want to do is talk about that here. So, what Sam had said was, I thought it was interesting how Kingsnorth was talking about getting our heads out of modern assumptions and stuff like that. And then during the Q&A, he sounded like a California Buddhist in terms of not wanting to force his conclusions on anybody, and everyone is on their own journey, and this path is working for him, but everybody needs to figure out for this for themselves, yada yada yada. And I put on there like, yep, me, I agree. uh, and this touches on a lot of things that are important to me. So the perennialism versus pluralism thing versus religious pluralism, not like political pluralism. Who cares? The way that I would largely frame it is I think that the idea of pluralism is operating within the general vision and framework of individualism and collectivism, whereas perennialism is working within a personalist framework, which is, like my boy Jedediah said, and I think this is a great way to frame it, is that personalism is not relativism, in that it is relative in that everything is personal, but that doesn't mean that everything is arbitrary. So maybe that's like a really Cliff's Notes succinct way of of clarifying and saying that personalism is not individualism. It's not isolated autonomous individualism where it's like, don't tread on me, nothing you say or do matters, and I am my own sovereign individual, and like, don't, you can't influence me, you can't tread on me, you can't. Personalism acknowledges that no man is an island and that everything is connected. We are to be a human being is to be a unity of a multiplicity. A soul is something that contains the essence of what a person is, and within that there are many multiple factors and things. I often think about these things in terms of morphic fields and Rupert Sheldrake. And so a body is within a person. It's within a soul. Like, we are not our bodies, but our bodies are definitely part of what it means to be us. But it's not just. But a person is also connected to everyone else. Like you can't extract a person from their family, from their culture, from their city that they grew up in, from their parents, from their all of those things go into what it makes being a person. And there's like, I often think they're morphic fields. It's a Venn diagram of these overlapping spheres that are interrelated and all. And, I mean, they're myriad. It's too much to even be able to quantify. So um, that's the personal thing. So again, a person is, it's relative in that, but it's not relativist in that the personal is, everything is personal. It's just not arbitrary. So it's relative in that it's personal. That's what it means. So I found this quote. So it's on this political forum, which I've never been on before, but I DuckDuckGo'd religious pluralism versus perennialism, and there was a lot of good things on there because a lot of the common pushbacks that I got, my friend Dave Williams was kind of giving this pushback of perennialism can't mean essentially that there is no difference, because of course there's difference between different truth claims. You can't, and within the forum it said something like that, like you can't, the first commenter, which I'll put under this video if I post it, the first commenter said something like, you can't take Islamic truth claims about Jesus and then Christian truth claims about Jesus, and those aren't compatible. But I think perennialism and mysticism would say that there's truth, all truth is God's truth, and that whatever is true with any specific tradition is true and is universally true. I mean, a lot of it gets at like what C.S. Lewis is talking about in the Tao, and so I don't know. It's hard to talk about all these things because there's so many factors. So I'm just going to read. I came across in that forum, I came across this quote, or this person said this, who was what was their name? I made a wordplay joke on it. While Donna said this. And so, who, I'm just going to use the pronoun she, Donna. The essence of perennialism is that differences in exoteric traditions are healthy and desirable, and should not be subverted by esoteric reductionism, pure reason, or heresies of the intellect. Perennialism is naturally opposed to modern esoteric movements that are syncretic, like syncretism. I don't know how to say that form of it. Syncretic, rationalist. I'll just start the sentence again. Perennialism is naturally opposed to modern esoteric movements that are syncretic, rationalist, and counter-traditional, i.e., New Age spiritualism, some modern mystery schools. It's basically taking a stand and saying that you have to pick a religion and cultivate fidelity to its exoteric traditions, i.e., mysticism and gnosis should not be proselytized, and that you should not go around mixing and matching like some kind of spiritual hipster. That is at the heart of perennial philosophy, developed by René Genon. I'm not good at French, sorry. I tried to learn it before COVID, but I couldn't do it. René Genon. Frijof, Sean, I think is how you say it, Sean, and Ananda Kumaraswamy, among others. So like specifically within that quote, I would say, so this quote is saying perennialism is not, so it's not proselytizing, it's not conversionist, it's not saying you should go around converting everyone to your identitarian way of understanding things, because all believing is personal and it's contextually bounded. That's what I was saying before. It's connected to your family, to your culture, to your upbringing. So it's like an elephant can't change its stripes to some degree. Somebody who's raised in the West is Christian, whether or not they acknowledge it or not, because the West is Christian. The West came out of Latin Christianity. It can't be otherwise. So although you maybe identify as being secular and non-religious, that's fine. That's one aspect of your multiplicity. Your self-identity is included in the entirety of your person and who you are, but your self-identity also doesn't trump everything else, like your culture, your family, where you're raised, all those things. It's kind of an elephant and a rider thing, to bring in Jonathan Haidt. Your elephant is arguably a much larger facet. This gets into my mosaic vision stuff and seeing is not seeing videos too. But your elephant is arguably a much bigger, larger percentage of your multiplicity than your conscious articulable writer. Um, and we know a lot of this stuff through cognitive science. I don't know. Vervaeke, the more I get into this stuff, the more I, at some point, wouldn't mind having a conversation with Vervaeke, except that I'm all over the place and he is very. I feel like we're similar in a lot of ways, but yet he has a lot more precision in his ability to talk about these things. So there's no point in proselytizing people because that's not how belief works. Belief is personal. I'm the subjective objective divide is also stupid. Like that, those are modernist categories. I'm talking about something else. The personal includes the subjective and the objective. It's both at the same time. It's non-dual. It's not breaking down those categories. And so, your belief is personal, and you may not even be conscious of your own belief. It's maybe something that you don't even know. Peter Rollins talks about this stuff a lot. And so there's no point in proselytizing. There's no point in going out and trying to convert people. Which, at the same time, and my buddy Sam was saying this, so I'm not saying you shouldn't do evangelism. But that's not. But I don't see evangelism as trying to convert people to my constructs. Evangelism is me. David Dark said it this way: the Christian is to bear witness to the witness they perceive. There's a great David Dark conversation that he had with Dave Bazan, which I think is fantastic. Which, if I remember, I'll post that in here. If somebody watches it and leaves a comment, I have it bookmarked somewhere. It's on Vimeo. And also, in that same conversation, they say Christians were not. The term Christian was externally imposed upon a group of people. It wasn't something that was rooted in self-identity to begin with. Because in Antioch, I believe, is where the people were first called Christians, and it was done by people outside of the camp. So those people look like little Christ. So it was an identity. It was a label put on from the outside, not one that was self-identified. Which there's a lot there too. So this quote also says, you should also not go around mixing and matching like some kind of spiritual hipster. So again, and you can't a la carte go pick all your beliefs. I like this little part of Buddhism, I like this little part of Christianity, I like this little part of whatever. They are cohesive wholes, and they have histories, and they have rootedness, and they are morphic fields that have histories and pasts and futures and people associated with them, and you can't break it all apart and just be like, I'll take this little bit, and I'll take this little bit, and I'll take this. It's like a spiritual buffet. That's not how it works. Your ego may like certain parts of those things, and that's fine. But that doesn't mean but that's thinking. That's not believing. And I've talked often about the differences between thinking and believing. Thinking is rooted in abstractions and concepts and things that are divorced from you. They're not rooted in the real, which is what's lived, which is embodied, to quote Rilke or to quote Jordan Peterson. So I want to go into all sorts of stuff with this. I really want to, I'll leave it divorced from here, but this gets into a pet peeve of mine that Nate Heil and I were going to do a video about this a while ago, or me and some friends, me and someone, I might do it myself because it's hard to coordinate things, is that equating Christianity to affirming a literal historical resurrection in an abstracted way is dumb. It's dumb. Because that doesn't mean you believe it. You can affirm all those facts again, whatever facts, what are facts? Again, too, they have no ontology unless they're embodied, it's like this. I'm distracting myself, so I'll probably have to cut this off at some point. But so one other thing I want to add in here. So I drew this little diagram of a field essentially and time and how we relate to it. And this gets into this Rupert Sheldrake book that I'm pushing all the time, The Physics of Angels, where he goes through Dionysius. He goes through Dionysius, he goes through Aquinas, and then who's the German abbess? I forget her name all the time. Whatever. He goes through the church's main three big hitters on their teaching on angels. And he says angels are you could almost think of them in terms of quantum mechanics, and they're photons of light or waves. And this gets into Lewis's space trilogy. I think talks about this really well. The way that he talks about the El Dila in that book, which is essentially like angels, is that he says you can only see an angel in action. It's spiritual. It's like the wind. You can't see it, but you see its effects. So you see it in action. And that's the same with a wave. Is like you can't see a wave. You only see a wave in action. So you see where it was, its crest, and where it's going, and you could almost map that, like time versus height or whatever is a wave function. But even a wave in the ocean, you see a wave in time, in action. If it's not in action, you can't see it. Oh, the wave doesn't exist unless it's acting. It's not participating in being unless it's acting. And angels are that way. He'd say, and they also participate fully in anything they're doing, because that's just tied to all the physics that he outlines in that book brilliantly. But he says human beings are kind of that way, and you could almost think of the body and the mind as the wave of a human being, because we talk about this sometimes, your soul, because a human being is, like, this is where I would say, like, a hard monism or a hard dualism are stupid, and you need some kind of dynamism, which is why I like Trinitarianism, and this is what I think Trinitarianism is the interplay and the relationality between those things. And so, anyhow, what a person is, here's the picture. Can you see that? Yeah. So there's me, and there's body and mind, and what an eternity is this. So we are this experience, a long time, of which Rupert Sheldrake says we're kind of like a wave, where our body is the past. So that's what has been embodied, what has been habituated, what is part of your evolution, your biology, your neural networks. So, like, even you could bring in Polanyi with subsidiary focal integration and learning habits, because that's what you do. You learn a habit is something. You could say it's a morphic field that you're participating in, because that's what Rupert Sheldrake's morphic field theory is about, is that they are fields of habit and instincts that are transcendent of space and time, which is, I love. But also a habit, that's what it is. You could take something simple as riding a bike or playing a guitar or piano, is you subsidiarily focus on these tiny little things, these habits, and then you embody them. You get them in your body so that you don't have to focus on them anymore, and that's what building neural networks is. And then once you have the neural network built, you can focus on other things, and then you can actually play. You can't actually play a piano or ride a bike or drive a car unless you've done this. But so many things are like that. So much of what we do is that. It's embodied knowledge. It's not something that you're conscious of. And it's impossible to be conscious of it, which is why you integrate it into your body, so that you don't have to be conscious of it, so that you can be conscious of other stuff. So this gets into this video. So the consciousness, the mind, your conscious articulable propositional knowledge is future oriented. I've said this for a long time. It's about the future. So this is where, like, most modern discussions and what I call non-talking talking breaks down and becomes just stupid. And even like conversionism and it's dumb. It's dumb because the past, this is why conversionism is dumb, and proselytizing. Because your body is what you are. It's how you act. It's what you've done. It's who you've been, which is personal, which is connected to your family, your context, your body, and all the limitations and freedoms that those entail. And that's where what you see in here depends a lot upon where you're standing. It also depends upon the kind of person you are. What you are, what you have been, who you are, how it's related. That is what you see in here. And what you see in here is the mind, but that's oriented toward the future. That's oriented toward reorienting to you, which this reminds me of Jordan Peterson's video that he did on freedom, which was great, because, like, the further a decision is from you, the more freedom you have, because you can orient yourself to it. But then as that decision approaches you in time, to the point of time, well, here it's when you make the decision, when I drop the pin, the decision's been made. It's over. It's bound. It's determined. But as I was thinking about it, and the further it is from you, the more freedom you have to it. But the closer it comes to act, it is constrained, and then it's bound, and it's determined. It's embodied. It's real then, But the future is indeterminate in that we can orient ourselves to it. But once it's embodied, it is, and then once it's embodied repeatedly, it's habit, and that's who you are. Your habits shape you, and it makes you who you are. And so most of these propositional things, and like so for me to get someone to repeat my words, to say the things that I want them to say about what they think versus what they believe, because again, that's embodiment. Like it's irrelevant, because it's all about the future. Like, it's fine, we can have those conversations, but the embodiment is the being. The embodiment is what matters. As Rilke says, the point is to live everything. And so evangelism, to me, what it looks like is bearing witness to the witness I perceive. I'm going to talk about the stuff I believe. I'm doing it right here. Um, if it resonates with you, cool. If it doesn't, there's nothing I can do about that, and that's fine. And there's nothing actually you can really do about that either. Um, we are we do not wage war against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities. And what you see and hear depends a lot upon where you're standing and the kind of person you are. If this is not salient to you, there's nothing I can do about it. And if it is, cool. Um, and part of that is faith. You learn to relinquish control. You bear witness to the witness you perceive. You tell the truth, or at least you don't lie, and you let God be God. So I suppose I'll end it for now. Obviously, whether or not you affirm the literal historical resurrection applies to all this, because what does that mean? And this is where Peter Rollins talks about this stuff really well. What does it mean to affirm the resurrection? I think Paul Kingsnorth talked about that really well. And I don't think he was equivocating at the end and being a wooey Christian or saying like these things don't matter. He was just saying it's personal, and like it's either compelling to you or it's not. Me telling you that you should think the ideas that I think won't make you do it. That's the Sunday school answer. You can get people to repeat the Sunday school answer. It doesn't mean they believe it. And that's what most of the modern world is trying to do most of the time, and I think it's an epic waste of time. Peace and love. What should be my closeout tagline? To love. Freddie, if you watch this, there's no way you'd watch this. I could talk about the Kings for a while. I don't know anything about the Kings except Jason White Chocolate Williams. I used to love him. He was on the Kings for a while. All right, I don't have a close thing, and I'm unkempt, and I didn't. This is how I roll. That's it.